John, a lot of the times on Mondays, the topic is chosen very last minute. Like, whereas we have themes for Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, there's no theme, sort of. There's a secret theme, which we never talk about, for Mondays. And it's the actual content is usually decided by something that happens in the series of meetings that I have on Monday mornings, where various, and I don't think they would be offended by this, very junior or, really younger copywriters
Yeah.
who are working on their clients' projects come to me, and their clients don't know I exist. Of course, it probably never will. Come to me to sort of get them out of like an issue or problem they're having. Something's like not converting. Something's they don't know how to attack a problem. They don't know how to come up with an angle.
Yep.
And so, I mean, those folks, I used to have folks as far flung as Asia Pacific, but that wound down. Also, the time zone was insane. It's like a 12
It
hour.
is. That's a
So
lot.
I think so now they range from like the Middle East and India to like the East Coast of North America or South America.
Okay.
So easier time zones, still a bit of a stretch, but none in the United States because I do not like. Sometimes they'll take my work. They'll almost always take my work and pass it off as their own. And the rule is you can't do that inside the United States. My rule is you can't do that for clients inside the United States.
Ah,
But if they want to do it in some other country that I'm never going to do business in,
no
then
problem.
use my stuff. I mean, honestly, it's not like I could stop them anyway, right?
No.
So going through trying to help someone who's developing their client is sort of a coach and very small business and is developing a service or trying to promote a service that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all been in this situation where we think something's a good idea, and of course people are going to want that. And if you're a small business or even a one person business, but even if you're like 10 employees or so, there are always limited resources and limited time. And like, is this what you should be going after? And I tell my copywriter clients who are then dealing with their own copywriting clients, I tell them that there are always three questions, and you may have more, but there are always three questions that you have to ask about anything you are going to try to, you invent and then try to promote any kind of service, any kind of whatever, right? And if you can't legitimately answer yes to all three questions as a small business, you should not pursue it because you will never have enough resources to educate the market that something should exist and that they have a problem they're unaware of and that you're the solution to that problem. Like, you'll never have enough money or time
Mm-hmm.
or headcount to do it. So I run them through these questions, and someone had ended up. It was a strategy coach who had decided to attack a certain market, and I don't want to go into details because it's not my client, it's not my business. But
Right.
clearly, this person, the copywriter, had not gone through any of these questions, which they're supposed to go through with their clients when the client wants to invent and promote something brand new. And this ended up becoming a discussion like, what is your job as a copywriter? Like, your job as a 99% copywriter is to figure out or ask what the client wants to say and then figure out the best way to say it, right?
Right.
And for a sort of like a 1% copywriter, your job is to figure out what their audience will pay attention to and get their attention grabbed and hooked into, what they'll remember and then be persuaded by. And then you take what they want to say and sort of shape it along those lines, like the sand adjusting to the rock in that, or stone in that example we did months ago about Stephen Covey, right?
Right.
And this person had forgotten that they're supposed to be striving for 1%, and they were just trying to take a turd and polish it. And so I figured we should go over these questions because everybody's human and everyone forgets and needs to be reminded of basic stuff all the time, including me, including you, like
Of course.
literally everybody. So so let's say you've come up, excuse me, come up with some kind of service. You're a business coach, strategy coach, life coach, right? You're a graphic artist, you're whatever. The very first, and you have an idea what you want to make and sell. You're kind of excited by it. You think, oh, this is a new take. And this is something people would be interested in. And you have an idea in mind of who you would want to try to reach out to. I mean, that's if you don't know that, you literally don't have anything to go to
You
market.
don't have anything. Yeah.
So the very first question is, can I find those people cost effectively? And a lot of the times,
Definitely should be the first
they
question.
can't at all. It's like, yeah, so I would be looking for a chief marketing officer who's recently had a bad experience with their graphic artist, contractor, and would want my particular service because I guarantee X and Y. Now, maybe your service is great, and maybe the X and Y guarantee is fantastic. But how are you going to find specifically chief marketing officers who are dissatisfied with a graphics contractor? It's not like you can go to Google or LinkedIn and just search for that. You
No,
can't find that segment.
right.
And so, we as humans, we start with what we think of and how excited we are and how great it would be. But if you can't even pass the first hurdle, which is getting in front of the people who might buy it, then literally nothing else matters, no matter how great your service is. So can you find them, and can you find them cost effectively? Right? If you could only find 4 of them a year and it costs you $3,000 worth of time and effort to end up with 4 prospects or even 4 customers, it's probably not a good business line.
Probably not.
Right? The second question related is, can I reach, assuming you clear that hurdle, right? Can I find them?
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you clear that, you know a way to find them, can you reach them cost effectively?
Right.
Because if you're going to focus on, let's say, Fortune 500 CEOs, and you're not willing to put in an awful lot of money and time to ultimately get in front of that person, then there's no point in doing this unless your margins are so incredibly high that even getting one a year would set you up for years. So if you can't reach them through email, if you can't reach them cost effectively through like Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or whatever, right? If there's no way for you to actually promote yourself to exactly the right audience in a way that doesn't break the bank before you even get a client, then there's no point pursuing this, even though you can literally see the person that you would want to communicate with. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't do it cost effectively, then you'll never make money. You'll just burn up your resources. And like we said, as a very small business, you don't have a lot of resources.
No, you'll go through that fast.
And then the final question is, okay, let's say you can find them, you can identify them, right? And you can reach them cost effectively. Do you have any proof that they buy other things similar to what you sell? Or if it's basically, if you're like a one person freelancer or contractor or graphic arts kind of, do they pay people like you?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times we can find them and we can reach out to them, but they just don't pay or buy that kind of stuff. They don't know about it. If they don't know they have a problem, then you might be able to find them based on them having a problem. But if they aren't aware of the problem, if the problem isn't a priority, so they don't bother to fix it, there's 11 other things every single day added to the list of things they need to fix and pay attention to, then there's no point in pursuing this line of business. And this copywriter this morning was dealing with a client, and this client clearly had not asked any of these questions and thought that the reason no one had bought a single unit in a year is because the copywriting was bad. I'll tell you what, if you're just doing your own copywriting, you're writing your own web page or landing page or sales page or whatever, and you've got a really compelling, interesting service or product, and you can target the people who would be interested in it, and you can reach out to them and let them know this web page or this description or product exists, to go take a look at it. You can have pretty mediocre copywriting and still sell something over the course of a year.
Of course.
So Do they pay people like me? Do they buy things like this? And unless you're very sure that they do, or you take the time to, now that you find them and can reach them, interview some of them and see and try to get your very first customer, then don't do this. You don't have the resources. You don't have the resources to create a market. You don't have the resources. Have we talked about this before? How there's like, what is it, 5 or 6 stages of customer awareness? It's like,
Sure.
don't know that they have a problem, know that they have a problem, but don't know there's a solution. They know there's a solution, but they don't know about you. They know there's a solution, and they do know about you. And finally, like, they want to know how to pay you,
Right. Of course.
right? No business without a very healthy balance sheet and cash flow should ever be dealing in the don't know they have a problem section of the population,
Yeah.
or know that they have a problem but don't know that a solution exists. You would think that's a great market, but it's not, because both of those two markets are, or slices or segments, are all you educating the market, you paying to educate the market, and then they can like look around for alternatives. You probably have competitors you think you're completely unique, but nobody's completely unique. And so you end up with spending your money trying to educate a market from scratch, and then if assuming you survive long enough after wasting all your money doing that, competitors will come in and scoop up most of it anyway.
Exactly. I think that's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I think it's easier. I think it's easier today with video. And, it's funny, as I was thinking about this as you're walking through that, I don't know how you could call yourself a copywriter and not know those 3 questions.
Well, it's not that they don't know the questions, because I drill the questions into them,
Of course. And I
right?
mean, but
It's
how
that
would you write the copy?
they default into just thinking their job is to take whatever the client wants to say and wordsmithing it. If I like could strike one word from the English language, it would be wordsmithing. I really hate that term.
Yeah, I don't like that word either.
But anyway, right? They default into being one of the 99% people and say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna improve this. I'm gonna make it better." And like you're like, no matter what you write, it's if the fundamentals aren't there, you'll never convert anybody.
Right. And I would say that like 90% of the time, the client may not know exactly what they want, or they may not.
No, clients are terrible at this.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, that's what we specialize in is, really going in and digging and saying, okay, who's our target audience? Do they need us? What are some of the other sub audiences that are like
Right?
that?
What would it cost for us to even get in front of them?
Yeah, and get started with it. And I think the other thing too is it's easy to test an idea like this. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It surprises me how many people think, geez, I got to spend $3,000 or $4,000 to test an idea. Well, that's completely untrue. You can spend as little as a couple bucks a day
Yeah.
to test something out with ads. So it really doesn't take much to do.
Nope.
And one of the things that intrigues me a little bit, I've been doing a lot of listening to stuff that Frank Kern's been putting out lately, and he does what he calls his dog whistle copy, which makes it easier to kind of pull out those markets where you're kind of not quite sure, but you write good copy for it and see if it's an attractant to them. So it is possible to dig in a little bit and check some of these things out a little bit better these days than what we could.
Yep. I
For
mean,
sure.
really, the only thing that's hard to get anymore is attention.
Hmm.
So, what about you? Do you have any other questions you'd like to make sure you cover off before you decide whether or not a new service is worth selling or a new business is worth starting?
I'll usually try. Well, I mean, I usually take the video approach to things, and Ed Winslow also took me through an exercise a long, long time ago, um, kind of a search exercise. And I swear that if every client were able to go through that exercise, they would know within minutes whether their idea was going to be a success or a ridiculous failure.
Do you know
Because
how to do the exercise?
I'm just kind of getting the hang of all of it. Probably will in the next couple of weeks.
It's like a keyword exercise or just regular front end of Google exercise?
It's a little more than just a keyword exercise, but there is looking up certain keywords, and requires some special software to do.
Yeah.
It's not like the average person would just go and they would do this on their own. But he took me through it, gosh, maybe a year ago. We were just joking. We were just joking around. We were looking at RV park sales. What would it be like to buy an RV park? He knows I'm a big RV fan. And
Right.
so he walked me through that whole market. And I have to say, by the time we got done, I said, wow, there's really a lot of opportunity here. Um, people could get started in it. We had all the keywords laid out. It was a great example of how to do great research. And Ed is just a super researcher. So
Yeah, all of this just reminded me of you. I don't know if you've been around sales or salespeople long enough. You've probably heard sort of
oh
like
yeah,
an apocryphal little, completely made up story where two shoe companies each send a salesperson to. I think the story is so old they would just default to saying salesman, and they each sent one salesman to this geographic area, like distant country.
yeah,
And two reports come back. The first guy says, terrible market, no opportunity here, no one wears shoes. And then the other one says, amazing opportunity, no one has shoes yet. And the thing is, the first guy is right. The second guy, with his enthusiasm, is the kind of story and moral lesson that you try to tell salespeople. But the first guy is right from a business strategy point of view. Unless you've got the resources to convince a country full of people that they should be wearing shoes, then, and you're big enough to do that and you can sustain that for a long time to educate the market, then that's not a good next market for you. That's not, as we used to say when I was in sales, that's not the closest dollar.
right.
And so, yeah, yo, yeah, no one has anything yet. It's like completely virgin territory. We can like come in here. It's like, no, actually, that's great, but no, it's
You
actually
know,
silly.
if nobody's selling it, it's going to be
Yeah,
very hard to break into
right.
a market. And then if they are selling it, you have to figure out how you can be the best in that market
If nobody is buying it,
to stand out.
there's probably a reason.
Yeah,
Right? And if you think the reason is no one has ever heard of it, then again, unless you can reach them cost effectively and do a little bit of experimentation, you need to just move on.
yeah, because it takes a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, you will never have enough resources to sustain that, and you will lose most of your effort to competitors because you've done the groundwork for them.
Yep, so many people just walk in right after and go, "Wow, thanks for all the help."
Yeah.
Bulldozer right in. Yep,
All
so
right,
true.
that's about it for today. Short one today.
Awesome.
All right, any final words? Are we done? Hope you
I
had a
think
good weekend.
I think
Happy
we're done. I
anniversary
think we did
to
a
Rob
good job
today.
going through this. So get the main points.
Which anniversary was it, by the way? Like what year?
28.
28th wedding anniversary. Wow.
28.
There you go. All right, buddy.